And that is the finding of an investigation of village finances and the spending habits of beleaguered Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
Lacey is absolutely not guilty of all 9 counts. I believe he's cooperating. And if you cooperate, you have to...
Tiffany Henyard, a name increasingly tied to controversy, isn't your typical small-town mayor. She's causing a stir in Dayton, Illinois, but it's definitely not for the right reasons. So, what's the real story behind this so-called super mayor? If you want to know what's behind the growing drama surrounding Henyard, buckle up. This tale is packed with betrayal, scandal, and some seriously questionable decisions.
Motion to terminate Keith.
So, who exactly is Tiffany Henyard? She's the self-proclaimed super mayor of Dothan, and she's definitely making a name for herself in ways no one expected. After taking office in 2021, she appeared ready to take this small town to new heights. But the real question is, was she boosting the town's future or just padding her own pockets? Henyard's rise to power may have seemed like a victory for the community, but once she settled in, things took a sharp turn. And it wasn't just the usual mayoral struggles. We're talking lavish spending, an extravagant security team, and a noticeable love for the finer things. Some would argue she's living like royalty, while Dothan's residents are left to cover the costs.
No, when we go through our board packets, it's like, some of the stuff, it's like you don't know exactly what it's for, and then when you ask a question...
We go through the board packets, it's like, sometimes you can't even figure out what some of it's for, and when you ask questions, there's no clear answer. The truth is, the numbers don't lie. Dothan is facing a serious financial crisis, and all eyes are on her. Word on the street is, Henyard's time in office has been marked by extravagant trips and questionable spending. Imagine this, you're the mayor of a small town, but instead of fixing roads or improving schools, you're flying across the country, dining at fancy restaurants, and staying in luxury hotels.
Is it a reason why you guys are not paying whatever that vendor is?
What was it for?
It was for sure.
That's right. The word on the street is that Henyard and her entourage have been running up thousands of dollars on the town's credit cards, all supposedly for business trips. But let's be real, people are starting to question if it's more about business or pleasure. And when it comes to spending, one of the most jaw-dropping details making waves is her tendency to splurge on Amazon. Get this. In just one day, Henyard allegedly spent over $40,000 on online purchases. Yes, you heard that right, $40,000 and in a single day.
I handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
And it doesn't end there. The receipts just keep stacking up, showing all sorts of extravagant spending. From expensive flights and luxury hotels to lavish meals at places like Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, it's clear her tastes are anything but modest. So who's picking up the bill? Spoiler alert, it's not Henyard. But it's not just her spending that's causing an uproar. Her leadership is under fire from nearly everyone, including those who were once her biggest supporters.
Addressing things as the supervisor, there will be no comments, there will be anything, it'll just be me addressing you guys, telling you what.
Remember when you were a kid and got in trouble so you tried to blame someone else? Well, it looks like Henyard has been doing a lot of that lately. She's been constantly on the defensive, pointing fingers at anyone who dares to criticize her. In fact, she's even gone as far as to claim she's the victim of a politically and racially motivated attack. According to Henyard, the backlash isn't about her actions, it's because she's a black woman in a position of power.
One-day purchase of over $40,000 to Amazon. And the main thing is...
Now, addressing you all, this might have been a compelling argument, but let's not forget that some of Henyard's fiercest critics were once her closest allies. Take Carmen Carlisle, for example. Carlisle was one of Henyard's biggest supporters, but now she's breaking her silence, and what she's revealing is absolutely jaw-dropping. Carlisle has publicly accused Henyard of unethical, predatory behavior, claiming the mayor has used her position to manipulate employees, vendors, and even residents to increase her own power. Talk about betrayal. Carlisle wasn't just a distant political figure casting criticism from afar, she worked right alongside Henyard in the middle of everything. According to Carlisle, Henyard's actions weren't just reckless, they were downright abusive. From lavish trips to unchecked spending, Carlisle claims Henyard exploited her position in ways that would leave most people speechless. Now that Carlisle has stepped forward to expose the truth, it seems like the walls are finally starting to close in on Henyard. And speaking of those walls, let's talk about the growing investigation into her. Things must be bad when multiple probes into your finances are underway. The town of Dolton has been sinking further into debt, and reports point to Henyard's mishandling of funds as the cause. Financial reports show that the village hasn't met required financial reporting standards since 2020, the same year Henyard took office. Coincidence? Maybe not. The village of Dolton is now $3.65 million in debt. No, that's not a typo, $3 million. While Henyard insists she's been putting in the work to improve the town, the numbers tell a completely different story. So, where exactly has the town's money gone? Let's just say a large portion has been funneled into personal luxuries. Remember that Amazon spending spree I mentioned earlier? Well, that's just scratching the surface. It turns out Henyard has been treating the village credit cards like her own personal wallet, piling up charges at stores like Target and Walgreens. And if that wasn't enough, it's been uncovered that she dropped over $42,000 and in a single day on Amazon. Now, unless she's buying every single person in Dolton a new laptop, it's tough to justify that kind of spending. No wonder her financial mismanagement has sparked a federal investigation. And leading the charge? None other than former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. That's right, Lightfoot, who's no stranger to scandal herself, has been brought in to examine Henyard's finances. And from what we're hearing, things aren't looking too good for the self-proclaimed super mayor. Lightfoot's investigation has revealed that since Henyard took office, Dolton's general fund balance has dropped from a surplus of over $5 million to a deficit exceeding $3 million. Yikes! But it gets even juicier. Not only is Henyard under financial scrutiny, but her security detail is also facing serious backlash. Reports have emerged that she's been using police officers as her personal bodyguards, pulling them off the streets while crime continues to rise in Dolton. And here's the kicker. She had these officers racking up huge overtime hours, with some even earning more in overtime than their regular salaries. Can you imagine? One officer, whose regular salary was around $72,000, and ended up making over $118,000, and just from overtime pay. But don't worry, Henyard's security detail didn't last long. According to sources, the funds for her bodyguards were frozen once the town's finances came under even more scrutiny. Now it looks like Henyard will have to face the public without the comfort of a police escort. And it's not just the public she has to worry about, it's her own trustees. The very people who once stood by her are now turning against her. Recently, the trustees passed ordinances to limit her spending power, a clear sign they've had enough of her antics. As for Henyard, she's not going down without a fight. In a dramatic speech, she accused the trustees of trying to sabotage her, claiming they were cutting off town services just to undermine her. Talk about deflection. Tensions between Henyard and the board have hit a breaking point, and it's clear that trust is beyond repair. The trustees have demanded more transparency and access to financial records that have mysteriously disappeared. And just when you think things couldn't get worse, Henyard vetoed the board's request to open a federal investigation into her financial dealings. But the board wasn't backing down. They overruled her veto, and now the investigation is moving forward. Henyard's downfall seems inevitable, but she's still fighting, clinging to power with everything she's got. In true fashion, she's making bold, questionable decisions. Take, for example, her recent attempt to reappoint Deputy Chief Louis Lacey as the head of Dolton's police department. Lacey, by the way, was fired after being indicted on bankruptcy fraud charges. That's right, he's facing serious legal trouble, yet Henyard thought it would be a good idea to bring him back. Needless to say, the trustees weren't having it, and they're now seeking legal advice to block her move. And that's exactly what's happening here. The entire situation is a disaster, and it's only getting worse with each passing day. The residents of Dothan are growing increasingly frustrated, and the protests against Henyard are becoming louder. People are fed up with the corruption, overspending, and endless drama. One resident even went as far as to say, "Does she even watch her own videos? She's so corrupt, it's normal for her. She doesn't know right from wrong. A 6th grader could do a better job as mayor." Ouch. That's another comment circulating, and it's hard to ignore the irony that Henyard no longer has her personal security team. The funds for that were frozen, just like her credit cards. It seems even her harshest critics are finding some humor in the mess, though the town's problems are no laughing matter. So, where does this leave Tiffany Henyard? For now, she's still holding on to power, but the cracks in her administration are growing wider by the day. With investigations underway, trustees turning against her, and residents demanding her resignation, it's only a matter of time before everything falls apart. But if there's one thing we know about Henyard, it's that she's not going down without a fight. In fact, she's still out there, speaking at public meetings, defending her actions and claiming she's the victim of a political witch hunt. Henyard is using her platform to rally support, but it's becoming clear that fewer and fewer people are buying what she's selling. As the pressure continues to build, one has to wonder, how much longer can she keep this up? Here's a final thought. Will Henyard's downfall serve as a warning to other politicians, or will it just be another case of a leader who thought they were untouchable? Do you think she'll finally be held accountable, or will she somehow manage to hold on to power as everything around her falls apart? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay tuned, because in Dothan, the drama is far from over.